did have a question from a gentleman that couldn't be here. His name's Scott. And he's seeing a lot of interest in a third party in the United States, and essentially that we've been always stuck in this two-party system. And the logic is, well, even if there is a good candidate for an office from either a third party or an independent, aren't we just giving away a vote to another side, in essence? So how do we start to make a third party or a independent party viable? Do we start at the local level and try to work our way up to a national type of position, president, for instance, or how do we break the mindset of right versus left? In the book 5,000 Year Leap, the author tries to break that apart and say we shouldn't be looking at right versus left, GOP versus Democrat, but rather on a graduated scale with anarchy on one end and a totalitarian regime on the other, and finding a place somewhere there where the government control is perhaps more limited than it is now. And viewing it through that lens rather than party affiliation.
It's kind of a host of questions there.
It is, sorry.
No. Do you start out on a local level? Yes. Because that's the government that affects you the most, is the local level government. So you should become involved with the local government in every instance. Because those are the things that are generally going to be the ones you have to live through. Oh boy, look at this. Cookies. Hot cookies. So, where are theirs?
Thank you.
Shall I pass a cookie? I should say yes later.
Thank you.
It's hot, Chuck.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Deb. So the local government is an absolute. You should be involved in every decision the local government makes. With parties, you have to ask yourself about groupthink. What's the difference between your individual opinion and groupthink? And does the groupthink actually further your individual opinion? Or are you willing to, once you're in the group, suborn your opinion to them? If you're having to sell out to a group, they're of no help to you. When the individuals get together and talk about their ideas, generally you'll find that if you maintain the individual aspect of your idea, you can have an individual group. It's kind of a contradiction in terms. Why do labor unions have to force people to stay involved in them? Because they don't represent the individual belief systems of the union members.
Sure.
So at what point does that group overcome what it is formed to do? Now, up until the printing press, individuals had no way of finding out what was happening in their lives. They had to trust an authority figure. Now, through mass media and social marketing, not mass media, social marketing, you can find out what the individual politician is saying and act as an individual instead of allowing the group to funnel the information to you. So you're not standing in front of a classroom with a professor telling you how it is. What you're doing is what you're doing with me. Tell me what you think and I'll decide whether or not I want to have anything to do with you. Now we could demand that because it's as simple as a camera and posting it for free on YouTube. Why aren't we asking for that? Because fearfully, people want to be told what to do. We saw it earlier tonight. Well, I don't understand the unintended consequences of my life. Well, you should. Because this is a marathon we're in. There's 4 quarters to this game if you prescribe to the football analogy, or 2 halves if it's rugby. I want to be 80 years old, and I don't want somebody deciding I don't get my medicine. And I also don't want a whole bunch of people that don't need to pay for me paying for me. So how in the world do we get there? If I want to be 80, I'll bet you I could have figured out when I was 20 how to get there. But we don't ask that question. We always pass it off onto somebody else as their responsibility. It's not their responsibility. Now, if someone wants to sacrifice their life for me, a child who says, I'll pay for Dad, I want that to be a conscious, reasonable decision on their part to choose to do that. When they choose to do, I'm very happy with that. But I wouldn't be happy with somebody forcing them to do it. And I don't want some ad hoc committee in a third-party realm someplace deciding that my mom has to die because I have to go to the black market to find her medications. So as we criminalize everyone, you mentioned it earlier, we criminalize people, and by making them criminals, we can set up organizations where we can pilfer from them.
Sure, there's a book written by a law professor called 3 Felonies a Day, and he's determined that there are so many laws on the books that each of us commit probably 3 felonies a day.
It's estimated there's 4,500 federal laws now that don't require mens rea, which in a legal, as a legal term means intent. You don't have to know you're breaking the law.
Listen to the old man. Listen to the old man. Listen to the old man. When you can.